Hello everyone, welcome to another motovlog on my channel. My name is Marshall3498 and today I'm on a Yamaha demo ride. I am riding a 2025 Honda Transalp 750, and this is the gray one that I'm riding, not the black or the white one, the tricolor. This is going to be, it's not going to be any off-road riding because this is a demo ride and this is not my bike, so this is going to be a street ride. They did say on the rider briefings that there's a good balance of everything, some interstate, some back road, some twisty stuff. I'm riding towards the back of the pack, which I kind of like, but I don't know. Let's see, this stagger formation, I think a lot of times gives people the weirdos because he's riding to the right, so I should be on his left, but he keeps moving over. So we'll just ride like this. The main reason they do that on these demo rides is to try to keep the group packed down. This is actually my first Honda demo ride experience. I'll do my best to go over some specs of the bike, but this is a regular person review. I'm not a journalist, so if I get a spec wrong, don't hate me too much in the comments. This bike weighs 432 pounds. It is a 750 parallel twin that makes the US version makes around 80 horsepower. It is chain driven, a 6-speed manual only, no DCT available like some of Honda's models. This one is automatic. Sorry, not automatic. This is not offered in automatic or DCT. This is manual only at 6-speed. And chain driven. 21-inch front tire, 18-inch rear. I believe we're about 7.5 inches suspension travel, front and rear. And we're around 7.5, 8.5 inches of ground clearance, depending on how you measure it and where you measure it from. And this, I think, would be the perfect bike for someone like if you started out riding a dual sport and you do so like 80%, you do a lot of BDR stuff like me, and you live in the southeast part of the United States, where a lot of your BDRs and in some of my rides, they're 80% street and 20% gravel. And to start out what the bike feels like, I do have it in standard ride mode, even though it doesn't, which I found a little bit weird, it doesn't light up till the bottom of the screen to where it changes and then that goes away, I guess, just so it doesn't take up as much screen real estate, which is fine. The motor is very smooth. We're 2,000 RPMs, 25 miles an hour, third gear, and it's just chugging along without really much fuss. Which if you're riding the bike off-road, doing slow riding stuff, that will definitely help because the bike will pull itself along without having to really constantly be riding the clutch and downshifting a lot, and that does matter. As far as, riding in gravel and stuff like that, you hit a hill or something like that and you're not always wanting to shift a lot. But the seat on this does feel pretty somewhat soft, about medium, but it's pretty wide compared to like a dual sport seat. So as more of a road bike, it would be, I'm sure, much more comfortable, at least seating wise anyway, than a dual sport would be. We are in Chattanooga, Tennessee. This demo ride is put on by Honda Power Sports. Big thanks to them and all the Honda demo team for putting this event on. This is no small feat to, drive bikes around the country, set up demo rides, set up a route. But we got a TFT display that is new for 25. The suspension is updated for 25 or 24. Can't remember some of the exact specs, but this is the newest update as of 2025 on filming this. And it is extremely hot today. I'm in Tennessee here in Chattanooga, and it's bike says 85 degrees, and it's an 85 humid. It is very warm, but it does have high beams on, so there's that. And this little display here on my left, as I'm trying to look down, is a little different. It's backlit and just a little bit better interface, and supposedly a little bit easier. The TFT definitely looks much better than the generation before that I've seen on YouTube. The bike feels compliant. Feels stable. It definitely feels like it would be like I said, a really good 80/20 bike. Hopefully we're not on the interstate too long, because I don't really particularly like interstates, and Chattanooga here is a busy one. So I'll do my best to try to keep the group in sight. You know, I know we're trying to do the speed limit here and get the bikes up there, but this is really not my comfort zone, interstate riding, because you get blown around a lot, and these roads here are pretty beat up, and this pavement, it's not shown on camera, but it has lots of grooves in it. And on a bike that's not mine, that I don't know, it's not exactly the most fun, but I've been riding for almost 10 years, so you just kind of have to take the good with the bad. But yeah, bike feels good. No motor vibes hardly at all. Excellent bike. The bars and the seating position are very comfortable. They're somewhat higher than, you know, about like your standard adventure bike. Knee position and hip to butt ratio and all that feels really good. Very comfortable, fairly relaxed, not as much like sport street oriented. I'll try to do my best to see what it feels like standing up. I'm just glad we weren't on that interstate very long. I do not like interstates. To me, like, what's the point of riding a motorcycle if you're just going to get on the interstate? I know it gets you there faster and all that kind of stuff, but it's really not my forte or my jam, so to speak. I don't know why I have my turn signal on still. But this bike, I don't know if it's enabled, but it does have self-canceling turn signals, which, for those of you who like that, there you go. But yeah, you got a fuel gauge. Bike has several ride modes. It has sport, standard, rain, gravel, and 2 or 1. I kind of thumbed through it a little bit before I left the demo ride. It's either 2 years of modes or 1. I can't remember exactly. Like I said, this is not a spec review. This is what the bike feels like to me. But the clutch feels really light. Brakes are very progressive. Pretty strong brakes. Like, it's just a 2-finger on the front and a little bit on the rear, like you should. Feels good. You got a fuel gauge, you got a digital tach. There are different fonts you can go through, but so far so good. And one thing I forgot to mention that everybody wants to hear is I'm 5 foot 10 inches tall, and I'm almost flat-footed, but the pegs are kind of in my way where I want to put my legs. So I have to put my legs a little bit forward of that, so that does eat up a little bit of the inseam. But I have my regular street boots on today. Alpine Stars MX1s, but if I did have like a Tech 7 or something like that on, I'd probably be able to flat foot. And I do have a 32-inch inseam, so there's all that stuff, by the way. Bike has a 32.5-inch seat height, I do believe, and maybe 33.5. I don't exactly remember, but the bike feels really, like I said, wind protection is pretty good. Even on this somewhat short windshield. It is non-adjustable on this particular Honda model, unfortunately, for those of you who love adjustable windshields. But you could always put a taller one on there. A lot of people are going to, but windshields are kind of like seats. Everybody has their preference, their likes, their dislikes. It's just all, you know, how tall you are, how tall your torso is, all that kind of stuff. But it's a very good street motorcycle. If you're looking for, like I said, 80/20, let's see, we'll roll on here at 4,000 RPM. Of course, you know, we're not going to be breaking speed limits today, but just regular, everyday riding. Bike makes plenty of power, low end torque's good, motor's smooth, no vibes. I'm quite impressed with it. I do, however, on the right side, probably the clutch basket side of my right foot, I feel that clutch basket, so when you're going to stand up, your boot is probably just barely kind of rubbed that, but it's not obtrusive. I just kind of noticed it. But if your foot is more, you know, straight on, you're not going to feel that. But if you kind of put your heels into the bike, so to speak, and your toes out on the outside of the bike towards like the white line and the yellow line here, you are going to feel that some. But I don't think that would be a huge deal. I don't feel any of that on the left. It's just a good motorcycle. It feels like I said when this bike first came out not that long ago, it looks, and they did redo the front headlight. It is less NC 500X by the headlight, but this bike to me feels like just a grown-up NX 500. It really does, or CBX 500, whichever model and nomenclature you're using, because they just changed those. But bike feels really good. I'm impressed, and I'm kind of a hard one to impress sometimes. Mirrors were nice. Didn't adjust them before the demo ride. I probably should have, but I did not. But sorry guys, I got a crack a visor. I'm roasting here. Sorry for the wind noise. Pretty bad today. Whew, that felt good just for a second. But like I said, I'm impressed with the bike. It's a great motorcycle. Do kind of wish though, I'm all for people being a little bit more relaxed, but this guy to my right is, it's like, I know you're riding your own ride and stuff like that, and I respect that, but you got to kind of stay with the group a little bit better. But that's okay. I'd rather be doing that than like being a hooligan. See right there, he chose to do that. No lady, I don't think so. People are so dumb. I didn't even realize she was doing that. Now she's gonna be glued to me. Sorry guys for the rest of the group, I did not know what was going on until I was like, oh nope. And of course now she's gonna stay there with a turn signal on. But you know, it's a really good bike. This bike, I do believe, I'm trying to remember some specs after that. Thanks lady. This bike retails at $10,000. I do believe it's $10,000. Yeah, $10,000. It's a lot of bike for $10,000. You know, of course, it's not as off-road focused as some bikes, but to me, really, like I had a KTM 890 before. I have currently a Honda 300 LS, and the KTM 890s, they're so off-road focused that, yeah, they're pretty decent off-road, but on-road with more aggressive tires, they're not that great of a road bike. They're like a big dual sport with a big motor, and they just, you know, ADV riding is a lot about compromise. Like, you have to figure out what you want, what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to settle for and not settle for. And unfortunately, it's you know, in my opinion, it's better to go more to the street side and let the bike suffer off-road for me and the kind of off-road ADV riding I'm doing, because it's 80% on-road. You're going to spend most of your time riding the bike on-road. And especially if it's your only bike, then you're riding it to work, you're commuting on it, you know, you're just doing casual street riding, and then you're doing, say, ADV riding on gravel and stuff, on like BDR kind of stuff with your friends and riding buddies on the weekend. And if you're willing to kind of give up a little bit of off-road, then bikes like this are really great. Of course, you could even go more off-road, a dual sport like I started out for your first couple riding season, and then move to something like this or something of that nature. You know, I wouldn't say like the NC 750X is an adventure off-road bike. It's not. It doesn't have enough suspension travel. It doesn't have nearly enough ground clearance, in my opinion. It's more a great commuter bike, and I wish they had one in this demo truck that I was going to demo today, but unfortunately they do not. But that's okay. I can't have everything in life. But it's a great motorcycle, this one that I'm riding, Transalp. You know, it's got pretty decent fairing. It has got a 5-gallon fuel tank, so that's plenty of fuel on board, or maybe 4.5. Like I said, some of the specs I know, I've watched videos on it, but you get on the bike and ride it, and, you know, spec warrior sheet just kind of doesn't happen as easy. This is not scripted, this is just me, so if I say some wrong stuff, like I've already said in the comments, don't hate me too bad. But I am impressed with this bike. I have rode like a Tenere 700 on a Yamaha demo day, and this feels much better of a road bike than a Tenere. Of course, this is not the off-road bike that a Tenere is, but like I said, if you're doing most of your ADV riding on the street, you got to cover big miles, big distances to get there, and then do the stuff, and then ride it all the way home just to save time. Perfect motorcycle, in my opinion. 432 in it. Of course, you know, I haven't got to ride it any low-speed stuff, but it feels very balanced. Doesn't feel like 432 pounds. I've ridden lots of different motorcycles in my day, even on demo rides, and it doesn't feel like that to me at all. Of course, you could go Africa Twin, which is more off-road focused, kinda, I guess, because it has more suspension travel and more ground clearance, but it's much heavier, it's a lot more expensive, it's more top heavy. There's actually one right behind me right there. The group got separated, I think, by that red light, or that car one. But yeah, this is a really great motorcycle. I can't say really anything about it except for, you know, it does feel kind of wide in the tank because of that big tank. So I'm gonna stand up here for a second, just get some air. Feels good standing up. Bars are pretty high. Feels nice to me, actually. Maybe some off, my heels are kind of back, but doesn't feel bad. Maybe a little bit of riser, just for me and the way I like to stand up riding, but doesn't feel bad at all. You know, the levers on it feel pretty nice too for stock levers. They're a little bigger diameter than some levers, especially the clutch for some weird reason. I don't know why that is. I guess because you use it more. I don't know. But you can get lots of Honda accessories with this. You can put a 12-volt cigarette lighter plug here, and it's pre-wired for it. And you can also get a factory Honda heated grips that is plug and play into the bike. No cutting into the harness or splicing. Literally has a button like right here on the grip. Pretty nice. And they do make a GPS bar mount for right here. You can put it right above the speedometer where it's right in your line of sight. Lots of good bolt-ons for this aftermarket now if you really wanted to buy one and deck it out for ADV riding. Unfortunately though, it does have tube tires front and rear, and no cruise control. But the cruise control, Meridian Cruise Control, makes a plug and play system. You only have to like do a little splice, one of those little butts, kind of like a T wire tap into the wire, and then it goes right here on the bar. And your brakes, it works as most cruise control does. Your brakes front and rear, because it sees the brake light signal. That cuts it off, and it's only like $300, which is not bad for a plug and play system. It's like right now, this slow speed clutch control thing feels pretty nice. The clutch let out though is almost all the way out. I'm used to some bikes being like in the middle, but you can always adjust that. Adjust non-adjustable levers though. Well, at least on the clutch side, the brake is on the front brake, so that's kind of nice to already have that stock. But yeah, you could probably buy this bike, put $2,000 worth of really good bolt-on stuff like protection and even cruise control, some knobbier tires, and off to the races. And for those of you who are wondering, I've looked into what a tubeless system would cost on a bike with this size front and width tire, which is a 90/90 front, and I believe it's a 150 rear. Of course, it's 18 rear. I have looked online at like one of the better options, and it's about $1,200, which is not cheap, but you're getting a quality wheel. If you're going to take this bike off-road and do some BDR stuff with it on a bunch of hard rocks, it's probably a good idea not to skimp on that. Of course, you can do the kind of trick mod, and we're going to get separated from the group from the light, but that's okay. You can do a trick mod that some people do where they take silicone, but I don't know if I'd really trust that to not leak down. But yeah, now we're going. Let's go, people. Come on. And now the group's going back up. But that's all I got for today's Vimo ride. I'm going to wrap this up here. Instead of y'all just hear me blab along. If you have any questions, comments, ask me any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them for you down in the comments below. Ride safe, have fun. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, ride safe. See ya.